So what is going on, everyone? Versatility here with another video, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for clicking on this video. And I figured, it's a new year, it's 2021, but we still have to answer the age-old question, which is, can you go full iPad Pro and use the iPad Pro as your lone and only computing device, whether it's for work or for pleasure or anything in between? So we're about to find that out. Let's get it started. So in order to make this review or this video as concise as possible, because there's so many different applications or ways to use the iPad Pro, that every person is going to use their iPad Pro differently. They're going to use it as a supplemental device, as just a YouTube viewer, or they're going to use it to run their businesses, make their money, bring in revenue. What I wanted to do was to break this video down into 5 different topics. The first one we're doing is form factor and versatility, then overall content consumption. We're going to talk a little bit about gaming. Then we're going to go into professional work, which is going to vary for a lot of people, but we're going to go over professional work from every spectrum, not just the YouTube creator spectrum, but everything also from the business professional side as well. And then finally, we're going to talk about battery life on the iPad Pro and how it compares to other computing device alternatives like a traditional laptop or a desktop or other tablets in the market, guys. But let's get right into the first one, which has to be form factor. So from a form factor standpoint, the iPad Pro is in its own world, right? It's in its own class. The whole point about the iPad Pro was that weird middle ground between a small screen iPhone and a large screen laptop, right? Steve Jobs came out in 2010 and he was like, hey, there's room for one more device in between both of these, and it's called an iPad. From that moment forward, a lot of people thought it was a bigger version of an iPhone or a bigger version of an iPod Touch. And lo and behold, we've stood corrected, because one of the biggest reasons for this channel is me focusing on the iPad Pro and using it as my lone computing device and replacing any other laptop alternative or any desktop or anything of that sort. So from a versatility and form factor standpoint, it's a beautiful thing, because it's a tablet when you want it to be a tablet, it's a computer when you want it to be a computer, and it's everything in between as well. So if you're just using it on your lap, you can use just the tablet functionality, interact with it with just your finger. If you want to get a lot of work done, get some typing done, get the Slim Folio keyboard or the Magic Keyboard. Yes, it's an expensive device. The second you slap your iPad on that Magic Keyboard, you literally have a mouse and a keyboard attached to it within a split second, and you're ready to type out emails, type out essays, and do whatever else you need to do from a versatility standpoint. And that's why I love it, because I'm never going to sit there and use the on-screen keyboard to type out long emails. Whenever I'm getting work done that involves a lot of typing, I'm throwing it on the Magic Keyboard every single time, because that's the power, because I can do that, and I don't have to limit myself to the on-screen keyboard. And then just in terms of versatility, it's awesome. You have the 11-inch form factor, the 12.9-inch form factor. You can throw it in a regular case with no keyboard. You can have a keyboard case. You can go with a Bluetooth third-party keyboard case, or you can go with a $350 Magic Keyboard case from Apple. So there's a lot of different options to get a lot of the same work done. But if you need just a keyboard, go with a Bluetooth one. Don't spend $350 if you don't need to. That's just from a convenience standpoint. And yeah, the build quality is amazing, and I highly recommend the Magic Keyboard if the iPad Pro is your only computing device. But that's just the power of the form factor and the versatility. You can throw it into third-party cases, into first-party cases. You can use it on its own, use it with a bunch of different attachments, and the list goes on. And then another big thing that happened with the versatility of the iPad Pro was adding that USB-C cable, or at least the ability to attach USB-C cables on there. So that gives you a lot of different things to play with. You're not limited to a lightning port anymore. So you can do secondary displays, you can do external SSDs, you can do a wired in keyboard or a wired in mouse. So it all really depends on how you want to use that one port. And like I said, there's also USB-C dongles that extend that to 2, 3, 4 different ports, and even more if you want to. So that is the beauty of that USB-C cable. Keep in mind that the USB-C port on the Magic Keyboard, it's purely for power and cannot support any data pass-through. Keep that in mind. Okay, so that is the versatility and the form factor, and that's one of the main reasons why the iPad is so unique and why so many people absolutely love this device. Topic number 2 has to be content consumption. A lot of people get iPads to literally hand to their children to distract them for hours on end. Why? It's because it's a giant screen to consume content on, right? And as a content consumption machine, this is the best that there is, in my opinion, right? It's louder than most laptops. The screen is beautiful, and it's a lot better compared to very expensive high-end laptops, whether you go with the macOS line or with a Windows line laptop. The screen is just one of a kind. It's 12.9 inches of pure screen, and the only thing that's separating you from the screen is the glass itself. You don't need to use a keyboard with it. You don't need to use a mouse. You just use your finger and do whatever you need to do on the iPad from a content consumption standpoint, right? It's great for Netflix, great for YouTube, great for gaming, which we're going to touch on in a little bit, great for podcasts, great for anything for you to get content and retain content It's also great for webinars if you're in school, great for recorded lecture halls and things of that nature. So from a content consumption standpoint, whether it is for fun or for learning or for studying, this thing is amazing. Whether you go with the 11-inch or the 12.9 inch. And from a content consumption standpoint, the 12.9 inch is a lot more immersive because of the size, but the 11-inch is perfectly fine as well, especially if you're just on the couch with some headphones on. And even if you're not with headphones, the quad speakers on both the 11 and the 12.9 inch blow out any laptop speakers out of the water. Even the new MacBook Air, the new MacBook Pro, the only one that probably has a beat is a MacBook Pro 16-inch from 2019. But from Apple's own lineup, the best speakers on a device with a screen on it, go to the iPad Pro, in my opinion. And now let's switch gears, continuing with the content consumption, but go into gaming, right? So from a gaming standpoint, the iPad has evolved tremendously. Last year with 13.0, we got full MFI controller support for both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. So if you have either one of those systems laying around and you have one of those controllers are compatible 100% with your iPad Pro running iPadOS 13.0 and higher. Now, some people have had some issues with some PS5 controllers not connecting to the iPad Pro, and I think that's just a compatibility issue and a software issue. I don't own a PS5, I've never used one of those controllers, so I haven't run into that issue. But again, if you have a PS4 or Xbox One controller or an MFI, dedicated supported controller that you could buy from third parties, that's all gonna work through the iPad Pro. And then you have all the options in the world, right? You have Apple Arcade, which is a great $5 a month subscription. I did the free trial for a while and I really liked it. Not enough to dive into it fully because I just don't have enough time to be playing games like that, but they work perfectly. And I do have a couple of games that I'll link below on Apple Arcade that work with the MFI controllers. And then you have this new abundance of shooting games. You have Call of Duty, Fortnite was there for a while, Apex Legends, the list goes on, even Cyberpunk if you get it through Stadia. And you can use the controller with those as well. And now even better with remote play from PlayStation, I was able to get full-fledged Madden. Yes, it's streaming from my current PS4 device, it's streaming it live, but I'm able to use in real time my PlayStation 4 controller on my iPad Pro while playing full Madden on the PlayStation 4, which is a really cool thing to see. I've been testing it out for a while. I'm definitely gonna make a video on that because I was just so impressed by how it works, because you're not playing a watered down version of an App Store game anymore, which was my biggest pet peeve. I'm a big sports gaming guy. A lot of Madden, a lot of 2K, and those are games which are just not optimized for the iPad Pro yet. Why that is, I don't really know, but that's the case. So the only pass through is to play it virtually, stream it live through a PlayStation or through an Xbox, through Stadia or any other of those cloud gaming services that are starting to come out. So if you're a big gamer and you're getting ready to adopt all those cloud gaming services, the iPad Pro might be your gaming device or your gaming console as well as your productivity machine, because all you would need to do is download an application, pay a monthly subscription, and then you're using servers and power from a different location to run games directly through the iPad. And like I said, you have that full controller support. So this could be your gaming console of the future. So that's another thing to take into account when buying a $1,000 device. Will it replace your $400 to $500 gaming console as well? Another big perk to the iPad. And now let's talk about one of the main points about the iPad Pro being a full computing device for most people. It is the idea of being able to get revenue generating, money making work done. And I think that I'm a good example of putting this iPad Pro through its paces, right? Yeah, I'm not really a creative, so I don't really draw on it to make money, but I take an abundance of notes with my Apple Pencil. Thanks to my Paperlike screen protector. Shout out to channel sponsor Paperlike. Link in the description as always. If you guys want to protect your screen, if you want to get a matte screen protector, and if you want a good feeling when you're using an Apple Pencil on your iPad Pro, highly recommend. But as I was saying, from a note-taking standpoint, I use my iPad Pro exclusively. I do not use pen and paper anymore. I've fully gone, paperless without even trying to go paperless on the iPad Pro because it's just how easy it is to use. I don't even have to turn on the device. It just knows when I'm pulling off the Apple Pencil and I'm ready to take notes down. So that's a great thing to have. Then from a creativity standpoint, there's an abundance of apps that you can use if you're a creator and you need to illustrate something from scratch or illustrate something with some help, right? There's all different ways to make money as an illustrator with your iPad Pro as your creation device. And in my opinion, it's a lot better than doing it on a desktop because you have the freedom of this Apple Pencil and the efficiency of the accuracy of 9 milliseconds with this Apple Pencil in terms of latency. And then as a content creator, if you're a YouTuber and you want your iPad Pro to be your one and only device, this is all you need. All I do is record my iPhone, airdrop it to my iPad Pro, edit it on my iPad Pro with LumaFusion, export it from LumaFusion into YouTube, and then go through all my YouTube, administrative stuff like adding the thumbnail or adding tags to make sure that it gets seen by everybody. So that's all done with the iPad and the iPhone. So keep that in mind as well. I have not used an actual dedicated camera for this channel, period. And I'll let you guys know when that actually happens, because it might be soon. That's all creative tasks, on the video side, on the drawing side, on the internet side, I guess you would say. But then you have the other spectrum, right? You have the business professionals that work at giant corporations that need things like Microsoft Office or things like G Suite, right? And those are all applications which are getting there. If you guys have seen my Microsoft series on the iPad Pro, it's one of my most popular series. The iPad dedicated applications are getting worlds better, and we're almost to the point where I can say, hey, if you're a master level Excel user, go with the iPad Pro, it's gonna work. I'm not quite there, but if you're a basic Excel user, if you're a basic Microsoft user, if you're just using Microsoft Outlook to email within an organization, communicate with other employees, Microsoft Teams works amazingly as well. So if you need a Microsoft Suite machine, the iPad Pro, I would recommend that over a Windows machine, in my opinion. And I would even recommend, macOS Big Sur and the new Apple laptops over a Windows machine to run your Microsoft Office applications. And then if you are missing a few things from the native applications, you can just use the web versions of those. And I'll definitely link all those videos down below if you guys want to see more in-depth analysis on more of the professional side of using the iPad Pro from that business world. They'll all be linked below. But in my opinion, if you just need things like Microsoft and G Suite at a basic level, and you're not adding different layers of data, and you're not importing different layers of data like pivot tables or anything like that on Excel, you'll be totally fine, because things like Microsoft Word or things like Microsoft Office and G Suite work exceptionally well, even from the web portals. So keep that in mind, that's a hint. If you guys are missing something on the native applications, hit the web version of both of those platforms, because they'll work out better through Safari. And I think that encompasses the whole professional life. You have the creators and you have the business professionals. And in my opinion, you can do both from this one single device, because that is what I am doing, everybody. And then the last topic we're gonna have to touch on is battery life. So the iPad Pro was sold, very early on as a all-day device, anywhere from 9 to 11 hours on a single charge with an iPad Pro. Now with the Magic Keyboard, the battery does deteriorate a little bit quicker because it is drawing power for the keyboard and the trackpad at all times. And also, if you've had your iPad for a while, just like any other battery, if you've had it for a long time, the battery gets worse over time. So I'm getting around 4 to 5 hours of screen on time. Now keep that in mind, I always leave it plugged in, and I don't follow best practice when it comes to saving my battery life in terms of the longevity of the life of the battery, because I always keep it plugged in, it's always on the Magic Keyboard, I never turn my iPad off, and it's really degraded my battery quicker rather than not. But if you take care of your battery, if you follow all the practices to save that battery life over a long period of time, then you'll be fine. Make sure you charge it when you're supposed to. When it's fully charged, unplug it, take it off the Magic Keyboard if you're not using the Magic Keyboard, things of that nature, just to make sure that you're getting the most out of your battery. And if you do have the 2020 iPad Pro, then your battery should be even that much better. So all in all, those are my 5 topics when it comes to the iPad Pro being your main and only computing device. And I think it can be done, and I am an advocate of that. I do it, but you just have to make sure that your use case works in that situation. There's some applications that won't work for you. If you're a student and you need a proprietary application to work, make sure that it works before going full iPad Pro. And then same thing on the work side. If your company uses a certain application that does not work on iOS or iPadOS, then maybe think about it before you actually pull the trigger and make sure that it works. Test it on your phone, test it on an older iPad, look on forums and blogs to see if those applications work, because you'd be surprised how many do actually work, even at a corporate level. But that's gonna do it for this video. My ultimate recommendation is do it if you're thinking about it. If you think you can do it, you will be able to do it. It's not a matter of whether you can get from point A to point B. It's a matter of learning a new way to get from point A to point B with the iPad Pro, because there will be a new learning curve, there will be a new workflow that you have to learn. And overall, in my opinion, it's a lot more efficient, especially because this is just a productivity machine, especially because you can't multitask with a bunch of different things. You can multitask to an extent, but you can't have more than 3 applications open, and that keeps you zoned in on the work that you're currently doing, because everything has a purpose at that point. But like I said, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below if you guys are full iPad. Let me know how you use your iPad, if you use it as a supplemental device, as a full-on computing device, or something in between. But that's gonna do it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, peace.